Today, we're going to talk about how to build your business credit in 30 days. We're going to talk about the initial steps that you need to take to build initial business credit. Then we'll wrap up and I'll tell you what needs to happen after that to get all kinds of credit for your business EIN that's not linked to your social, including revolving accounts at stores, Visa cards, MasterCards, auto financing, computer leases, amongst much more. So by the end of this training, you're going to know the exact steps for you to build a business credit profile for your EIN that's not linked to your social without a personal guarantee and without a personal credit check, and how to do it in 30 days. So let's dive in and talk more. So remember, when we talk about business credit, we're ultimately talking about credit that's in a business name. It's linked to the business EIN, not the actual social security number of you as the business owner, okay? So it's an ongoing process, just like it is with consumer credit, but you've got to be proactively, you got to proactively do this. So what I mean by that is that a lot of people say, how long does it take me to build business credit? Well, it's just like consumer credit. It never ends. The more you go through this process, the more credit you obtain, the more credit you'll be able to qualify for, the higher limits that you'll be able to get. It's just about doing it on a consistent basis, but you got to be proactive, because with business credit, it doesn't accidentally happen. You see, if you get a credit card at Target or Staples or almost anywhere else, you expect it to show up in your consumer credit report. But in the business world, 97% of trade vendors, they don't report the credit that they give you. So a lot of the credit that you do get doesn't report. So you've got to be proactive and actually go through the steps we're going to talk about today to get credit that does report, to build that initial business credit profile and score, okay? So did you know that in 30 days, you can hit the ground running and build business credit? A lot of people don't think that. A lot of people think it's a longer process, but it can be done in that quick time to start the initial business credit building process, even get your initial approvals within that time as well. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. But the very first thing you've got to do before you even start building business credit is you've got to set up your business where you're fundable. And that's going to be a lot of our training today, because this is the stuff you have to do before you even start to apply for business credit. Look, we've got a group with 35,000 people in it that build business credit. It's a huge community. It's the biggest online community of people building business credit. And we see hundreds of questions in that group weekly come in. And all these questions are all related to the same thing. People are failing because they're not following the very first step of this process, which is fundability. If you don't follow this first step, what happens is you get all kinds of denials. And those denials then slow down the process and make it take years. My goal is to take this process like we do with our clients and condense it down into months. But in order to do that, you've got to take a set series of steps to succeed with building business credit. That's going to be able to give you the most bang for your buck, because you're going to be able to spend less effort, get more approvals, and get higher limit approvals as well. Eric, hello from Las Vegas. And Juan, hello. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. It looks like you used a virtual address and had issues with Google, but you shouldn't do that if you're using a real virtual address. So you want to check places out and make sure you're not using iPostal or something like that. For example, that's the way that Dun & Bradstreet is. Dun & Bradstreet won't accept iPostal and those kind of accounts because they're not real virtual addresses, but they will accept real virtual addresses. So that might be part of your problem. Jennifer, waiting, excited for your consultation tomorrow. We're excited to talk with you as well. Again, at SC Texas Moving Services. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate you coming. Okay, so you got to get fundable. It's the very first step. Building that fundability is what gives you credibility with lenders and credit issuers. So let's think of it like this. You have no business credit profile established. We're going to go to creditors and have them give us credit when we have no credit established. Not an easy task. When that happens, the most important thing is that your business is set up where it makes you look credible, because that and that alone is going to be used for these initial approvals. This is why people mess up this process. And if you mess up the process, then instead of getting approved right away for initial credit, they're going to make you place orders for months before they'll give you the real credit. We don't want that to happen. So we've got to build the business where it's fundable, where you look credible, because you have no credit profile to go by. Now, it's going to help you attract more prospects as well and turn those into customers, but it's also going to help a lot when it comes to getting loans and credit lines and credit cards, because this is the stuff that lenders and credit issuers look at most. So you get fundable, and you're going to shorten the time that it takes to actually get the money that you need, and it will do so long after that 30-day period is expired. So even after 30 days, this fundability is going to help you dramatically, because, again, this is what lenders and credit issuers look at. So every time you get a loan, every time you get a credit line, every time you get a credit card, this is the stuff that these guys are going to look at, and this is really the key to expediting that business credit building process. So let's start right here with your name. Does your business name indicate that you're in a high-risk industry? That's something you want to think about. There's a lot of high-risk industries out there. Anything in financial services, anything to do with porn, with ammunitions, with pawn shops, amongst many others. And there's things on our YouTube channel where we actually dive into a lot of high-risk industries. But you've got to keep in mind that high-risk industries, or a name that indicates you're in a high-risk industry, will automatically throw up a red flag on your application and making it harder to be able to get the money that you actually need. You also need to make sure that you choose the right NAICS code. It's extremely important. So if you go here to Google and you go to NAICScode.com or NAICS.com, you can actually search your industry code. And this is very important because a lot of people, for example, will say that they're in real estate on an application. Hey, what industry are you in? Real estate, right? But if we look at real estate here and just break it down into its subcategories, you see why this becomes such a problem. If you say that you're in real estate on an application for credit or financing, look at all of the subcategories of real estate. There's a lot, right? This is where people mess up. They come in, they fill out an application, say they're in consulting, say they're in education, say they're in real estate, not knowing what their NAICS code is and not knowing the exact name of that subset of NAICS that they are. So that means you need to come in, and if you are a non-residential property manager, then whenever it asks for an application for loan or credit, what your industry is, you would literally say, I'm a non-residential property manager, NAICS 531312. And when you do that, you don't let them guess. They clearly know the exact NAICS code, and they'll always categorize you correctly. If you don't do this right, they will put you in the wrong industry, and that's a nightmare because a large part of your business credit scores is based on demographic information, including your industry. So if you have the wrong industry, then they're assessing your risk incorrectly, and you're being deemed as high risk when you're not. Find your exact NAICS code. It's free to do, and make sure you use that on all applications for credit financing. And when you get set up with DMV, make sure it's there as well. It's very, very important. Anita says hello. Quintina says hello from Biloxi. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Kirk. Hey, Kirk, thanks for coming in from Detroit. Jennifer, you're the best. And to Shania Tasana, thanks for coming in too. Sorry, I just slaughtered your name. So the next thing that's very important is your business phone number. You can never use a cell phone. You can never use a home phone as a business phone number in an application for credit or financing. You can use a voice over IP number, but stay away from Google Voice numbers. Google Voice numbers are very problematic when it comes to building business credit. I don't know why, but we see a lot of denials come from people that are using Google Voice numbers. So you can use a voice over IP, which is kind of like an online phone, through a place like Ring Central or Freedom Voice, but just avoid Google Voice numbers. For some reason, those create issues. You also need to make sure that that phone number is listed in the correct directory. The correct directory is to list it with 411. You can go to listyourself.net. It's the only way to list your phone number. So let's look at why they look at this. You see, you can't go to 411.com and list your own phone number. 411 picks you up organically because you show up on Google, you show up on Bing, you show up on all these places. So what happens is that if you don't organically show up in these places, you're not listed in 411. That's why credit issuers for initial business credit look at this so much, because they don't want to give a brand new business credit. So one of the ways they know that you're not established is they do a simple basic 411 check. If you are showing up on 411, they see you as credible, you pass the check, and your chances of getting approved are much better. If you don't show up on 411, there are places that flat out will not approve you, even starter vendors who will not approve you without this. So you've got to get set up with 411. You need to get a toll-free number. You should get a fax number as well. In 2020, we're not seeing anybody denied because of fax numbers. We're not having one. But nowadays, you can go to Ring Central, Freedom Voice. Your phone number could be your fax number. It's all in one. It's super easy and simple to set up. So go and get a toll-free number. Get it set up with List Yourself. Make sure it's not a Google Voice number, and that's going to give you a phone number that will pass the criteria to be able to actually get you approved. Your business address needs to be a real physical business address, preferably. It either needs to be a real retail location, or the second thing, it could be a virtual address. Now, somebody said here, hey, I'm having problems. My virtual address got me denied on Google. I hear the same thing. It got me denied at Dun & Bradstreet. But the reality is Dun & Bradstreet does not prevent you from using virtual addresses. In the cases we've seen where people say, I got denied by Dun & Bradstreet because of my virtual address, they're not using a real virtual address. They're using something like iPostal. iPostal is a UPS type store. You need to stay away from those. UPS stores, PO boxes, iPostal type stores, those are all in the same category. They're into this database that lenders and credit issuers can tap into. And if they see you're using that kind of address, you're flat out going to get denied by a lot of different sources. So the order of addresses you want to get are a real physical location if you need one for your business. If you don't, get a virtual address. Go to creditsuite.com/virtual to find our source alliance. You can also use Regis. You can use DaVinci, but we've had the best success with our clients with Alliance, which is why we recommend it. Okay. Then the third option, if all else fails, is get a home address and use a home address instead. But some sources will not approve you with a home address. Amazon will approve you using a home address. Walmart won't. So remember, that's the way business credit building works. You can ignore what I'm saying here. And some sources will still approve you. Some sources don't need a 411 listing. Other sources do. Some sources don't need a home address or will use a home address. Some sources won't. So if you want to get max approvals, fundability is important because there's a lot of these credit issuers won't approve you if you don't meet one of these criteria, where others might approve you if you don't meet that criteria. But if you want max approvals, you got to do this because some sources just will not accept an address that's a home address. The other problem is that you need to make sure that you know that now Dun & Bradstreet is putting Google Street Views of your business address on your business credit report. So if you don't want a picture of your house on your business credit report, then it makes a lot of sense to not use your home address as your business address. So you can expect lenders to pull up a commercial credit report and see a picture of your house there. If you don't want that, then get a virtual address. It's the best option, but never get PO boxes and UPS addresses. Now, if this information is helpful, do me a favor, like the video, like this wherever you are. It tells the other social channels that, hey, this content's important, it's valuable, it's not trying to sell me something, he's giving me a ton of good info, and that helps other people get in here, and I appreciate that as well. Okay, so your business website, you need to have a professional business website. Don't go with Wix, don't go with Weebly, because they host your website. You want to host your own website on your own URL, like creditsuite.com, for example. And that website needs to properly reflect what your business does. These credit bureaus like Dun & Bradstreet use crawlers to go crawl the internet and look for anything they can find about your business. You need credit issuers, lenders, and the bureaus to know everything they need to know about your business from your website. So not only do you need a professional website, the website needs a professional, really represent what your business does so people can look at your website and know exactly what it is you do. You need to have an email address that's congruent with your business address. So my website is at creditsuite.com. My email is info@creditsuite.com. The email has that same URL domain as my main website. That's what you want to do. You got to stay away from Yahoo. You got to stay away from Gmail. You got to stay away from AOL. When you use these, it throws up a red flag and shows that you're unestablished. Look, let's be honest. I don't like to do business with people that use those either. When I see somebody trying to sell me products and services and they're using a Gmail address, it does not make you look legitimate. And I bet you're probably the same. You've probably not done business with somebody before because they're trying to solicit you with a Gmail address instead of a real URL that they have for their business. So it doesn't make you look credible for your customers. It doesn't make you look credible for lenders or credit issuers as well. Okay, so it's very important that you make sure that you set up the right business email address. You also need to get set up with the Secretary of State. Sometimes you can get a license. And if you can get a license in your county or in your state for your business, get one. There's some sources, like we'll talk about vendors near the end of this video that you can get approved with, that'll give you $2,500 credit lines just because you have a license for your business. So make sure that you actually get a business license if you can, because it makes you look more credible. And you also need to get yourself set up with the Secretary of State and make sure that your Secretary of State information is congruent. You need to make sure that the name, address, phone number for your business on that application for credit is the same as your Secretary of State. Believe it or not, it's one of the biggest reasons people get denied. Here's how it works. Credit issuer, we think this application is fraud. We need to verify the company really exists. Let's take the company name and go to the Secretary of State and make sure that company name exists in the Secretary of State. We can't find it. Denied. This happens all the time, and it's because you changed your business name. The spelling is different. There's a DBA, and they can't find your business. Their crawlers can't find your business in the Secretary of State. So you've got to make sure that you set up with the Secretary of State. If you can get a license, get a license. Make sure all that information is congruent as well. Okay, even business credit providers, which insist that you have your license, may make an allowance if you can prove that you've put in your application. So again, have a license with your Secretary of State if you can get one, but make sure you're set up and make sure your information there is congruent. Set up your business bank account. When it comes to getting business credit, they're not going to ask you for bank statements, but they will ask you for a bank reference. And you're not going to have a bank reference if you don't have a business bank account. Plus, if you ever change ownership in your business, they're going to look at the day you started your bank account as the day your business started. There's a lot of benefits with setting up a bank account. You have a bank rating, a bank credit score that's used to determine if you can be approved for credit cards and loans from banks. You have a check systems credit score that's used to actually score you on how you manage your bank account. These are things that lenders and credit issuers look at, but if you don't set up your business right away, you don't get as much credit with those scores. Both check systems and your bank rating give you more credit the longer that your bank account's been open. So there's a lot of benefits by having longevity to your bank account. You need to set that up. And for business credit building, you need to make sure that you have that online bank or that bank reference that's going to be asked for. Super simple. You could typically do these sometimes maybe online now, but I go in my bank, depending on the bank, as little as 15 minutes, you can actually set this up. You've got to set up your EIN. You can get your EIN for free from irs.gov. A lot of places out there make it look like you're actually getting an EIN when the reality is that they're going to charge you for it, and you don't want that. So you need to make sure that you're always looking at an irs.gov, or if you don't, you're going to be charged. So if I come in and type in free EIN to Google, I see here ads, my corporation, etc. They will oftentimes charge you for an EIN, and you don't know about it until you get to the end of the process. So it's free, it's easy, you get it from irs.gov. You need an EIN to build business credit. We're building a credit profile for your EIN that's not linked to your social, the same as you build a profile for your SSN. A lot of people think that you build credit under your DUNS number. That's not true. We'll talk about DUNS number a little bit into this video or into this training, but you need to build a DUNS number, or you need to build your business credit for your EIN. So if you're a sole proprietor, you don't even need an EIN, but you need to get an EIN to build business credit. You can't effectively build business credit. You can't build business credit without a personal guarantee or credit check if you don't have it. Okay, so as I mentioned, you can get this set up, but before you do this, you should get your other things set up. So when I'm setting up a new business, here's what I do. Okay, I make sure the business name is available with the Secretary of State. I grab the URL from GoDaddy. I go to GoDaddy to get my website URL. Then I set up my business address. I set up my business phone number. Then I go to the Secretary of State, and then I grab the name of the Secretary of State. When I set up the Secretary of State, now I have my business phone number, and I have my business website, and I have my business email, I have my business address. So I know that when I set it up with the Secretary of State, it's all going to be right because I did that already. Then I go get my EIN. Then I go get my bank account. And if you follow that order, I follow that order no matter what business I'm building. It's exactly what I do. Make sure name's available. Grab URL. Set up business address, business phone, business email, and website. I don't have to build my website first. Just make sure I have the URL. Then I go set up the Secretary of State, enter that information to set it up, get my EIN for free at irs.gov, and then go set up my bank account. And then that sets up a lot of your basics that you need to know. Now, we've talked about SIC and NAICS codes. I even showed you how to determine what your NAICS code is. You don't need to worry about your SIC code. That's an older code the IRS used. The NAICS code is the newer code the IRS uses. And as I mentioned, all you have to do is go right here to NAICS.com, find your actual category of business that you think you're in. Okay, then you want to click it to bring it down. You're not just in finance or financial services. You need to figure out where in financial services you are. And then remember, whenever you apply for any kind of credit financing, you would say literally these two things. I'm in commercial banking, NAICS 522110. So you've got to figure that out as your next step, because if you don't, you're going to have credit reports that reflect that you're in multiple industries, which is not what you want. Because a lot of the credit scores in the business world will gauge your risk compared to others in your industry. Obviously, if they have the industry wrong, well, then you're going to have a problem, right? They're going to misassess you and misevaluate your risk. So I stress this for a big reason. Here's why. If I apply for a credit card, okay, let's just look at this hypothetically. I apply for a credit card. And I say that I'm in finance, right? And if I just say I'm in finance, then they have to choose between all of these. Now, let's say some of these are high risk and some of them aren't. What do you think a credit issuer is going to do? Are they going to select a high risk industry or a low risk industry for you if they have to choose? They're more than likely going to choose the best one they think makes the most sense and probably going to put you in a high risk category because it helps them. They can charge you more interest if you're in a high risk category. That's why you never want to let lenders and credit issuers decide this for you. They will always default to high risk, and then all the money you'll get, you'll be assessed as a high risk industry, and you don't even know what's happening. You're getting loans, you're getting credit cards, you're getting credit lines. The interest rate's way higher than it should. You'd have no idea why. And the reason why is that they think that you're in a high risk industry when you're not. It's why it's so vital that you go through this process and actually choose your own NAICS. Now, one of our Facebook users says we shouldn't use Wix even though they allow you to remove their label in the domain. Look, you need to host your own website. That's the key. If you use any service where they don't let you host your website on your own domain that you own, then you need to not use that service. Okay, Floyd says, what if you don't have a physical address for a business? Then use a virtual address as option 2. That is where, like, our address is in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida. As a matter of fact, somebody 2 days ago was on a call with me and goes, hey, my dad's office is right down the road from you. I go, yeah, we don't actually occupy that space. It's our virtual address. So I'm renting a mailbox at a big physical address. It's very affordable, and it's an easy way to be able to make it look like you're in a real physical building when you're not. And then, of course, the last resort is to use a home address if you can't use those other two. Okay, you need to also make sure that, of course, when we talk about the Secretary of State, that you set up the right entity. You really should choose a corporation. You really should look at an LLC. You could do a partnership if you're partnering with other people. You need to stay away from a sole proprietorship, and here's why. If you're a sole proprietor, you are the business. Like, you and the business are one and the same. If somebody sues you, sues the business, they're suing you. And I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. I'm just telling you the way the system works. If you are the business and the business gets sued, you get sued. You and the business are one and the same. Okay, you need to separate yourself from the business. Business credit helps you separate yourself, but you can't separate yourself if you are the business. So sole proprietors, you are the business, corporation, LLC, and an LLC and a partnership, you are separate. And that's the kind of separation that you really need to create so you don't necessarily have that liability. Okay, also, it just helps with auditing. Like, the IRS's stats on this is a sole proprietor gets audited 1 in 7 times. A corporation gets audited 1 in 50 times. That's insane. Like, you are hundreds of percent more likely to get audited if you choose a sole proprietorship as well, which is why you really need to come in and choose the right entity. Now, once you get set up with the Secretary of State, you're going to get your articles of incorporation. In Florida, they offer me like an $8 upsell to get them right away. You want to do that. When I don't do that upsell in Florida, it takes me 2 weeks to get my articles of incorporation, to get my bank account. But if I choose to pay the $8, I can get them very quickly. I can get them right away. So you want to make sure that you set up your entity the right way, get those articles of incorporation. They're going to be needed in order for you to actually go in and get your bank account set up anyways. And Aisha from Philadelphia, thanks for coming in. And Aisha said, I truly love your trainings. I appreciate that as well. And Facebook user says, what are good sites that will allow me to host? GoDaddy is the one that I recommend for hosting. There's a lot out there, but I've used them for many years. And Eugene says, I'm a U.S. citizen. I want a catfish farm in Africa. Do you think I can get funding? You can get funding if your business is in the United States and your assets are in the United States. It's possible. Give us a ring. Our number's on the bottom of some of these slides, and we'll be able to help you with that. And that being said, and Mad Max is responding to somebody else. So the next thing we want to do is get your DUNS number. Now, the DUNS number is a 9-digit number issued by Dun & Bradstreet. It's used worldwide to identify your business. In the United States, your EIN is used by the IRS to identify your business. In the world, the UN, the United States government, the Australian government, they look at the DUNS number to identify your business. So you need to get a DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. It's completely free to do. You have to have a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to D&B before they will establish any kind of initial credit profile and score for you. It's very important. Now, you can go to creditsuite.com/DUNS, DUNS. That's the quick link to get this set up for free. You do not have to spend any money with them, but if you go to get your DUNS number, Dun & Bradstreet's going to try to call you and email you to get you on a call, and they're trying to sell you something called their credit builder. Their credit builder is a way you can add existing accounts to your D&B credit profile, but it's expensive. It's like $150 a month, $1,500 a year to do it. And you can only add accounts to D&B, and they don't let you add a lot of accounts. You can't add rent. You can't add lease payments. You can't add utility payments. You can't add bank credit card payments. So this is not an option I recommend, because even if you spend $1,500 and add accounts to your D&B, you still have to follow something else I'm going to show you here further into this training to get vendors or another source anyways. You have to build credit with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. So I don't recommend that you let them get you on the phone, or they will try to sell you something you don't need, and they're very good salespeople. Your DUNS number is completely free. Remember that. And you've got to have a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to D&B in order to actually have a profile ever created for Dun & Bradstreet. Experian and Equifax will create a profile for you and give you a failing score, even if you have no business credit reported to them. So you need to build business credit with them right away. D&B is the opposite. They won't even give you credit unless you have a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to them. So a lot of people ask me that question: why won't Dun & Bradstreet give me a score? Because you don't have 3 accounts reporting to them yet. You got to have 3 accounts reporting. You got to have the DUNS. And when you go to Dun & Bradstreet's website, you'll see that they have a credit signal, all kinds of monitoring stuff for options, $150, $220 a month. But we talked about that. That's not things that you really need to get. Okay, so the next thing is that you need to keep in mind that lenders consider your credit history as one of the chief factors to determine your credit worthiness. Okay, I have people all the time, and I had a lady on YouTube, and I feel bad because it was her YouTube channel, and I left a very detailed comment in response to her video. And her video said, you don't need business credit to get loans at banks. And I said, yeah, you do, because banks use an SBSS score, which is a FICO SBSS score. You need a 140 score to get a bank loan, like an SBA loan, and you can't get a 140 score mathematically unless you build business credit. It's impossible. So here's the thing, and what her point was that business credit and business credit alone is not enough to get you credit lines and loans. It's a valid point, and it's very true. Just because you build business credit won't mean you're going to get loans and credit lines. But business credit, absolutely, without a doubt, is a major factor in determining if you do get loans and credit lines and the rates and terms that you'll pay. Business credit is as important to getting you financing for your business as personal credit is for getting you credit for you individually. But if you want to get a credit line for $100,000, $250,000, you're not going to get that unless your revenue's in line and your personal credit's in line, other things. But the bank is always going to look at your business credit quality to determine if you should be approved, the rates and terms you're going to pay, and how much you're going to get. So making timely payments to the business credit reporting agencies is very important because it's what puts you in the low risk category. So you've got to open accounts, build business credit, pay those accounts as agreed. That is the absolute key to getting good business credit scores, which are used to determine if you're going to get approved, how much you'll get approved for, and the rates and terms you'll get from the actual bank. Now, Steven says, can you open your business in a state like Delaware that provides anonymity? I can't pronounce that today for some reason, but will still allow you to build business credit. You can do that, but it's usually for bigger companies that make that move. As a startup, I don't necessarily recommend that. So, for example, at Credit Suite, we're a Florida company. Our accountants are now saying to move everything to Delaware, but we're an 8-figure business, right? So as a startup, it's going to look odd if your state of business is different than your state of residence, everything else. So as a startup, I don't recommend that. When you get big enough, that might make some sense. But in the beginning, it does make it harder to get funding and credit. It's a great question, though. SE Texas Moving Services says, what about trucking companies? Is there a way to avoid being flagged down? Typically, trucking and transportation is not looked at as high risk. But again, what I would do is I would come in and search the NAICS code, NAICS.com, and I would find something here that indicates that you're in transportation. But typically, trucking, in most cases for business credit financing, if you choose the right NAICS code, is not looked at and deemed a high-risk industry. So next, what we've got to do, we've got to come in and get vendors that report to the Business Credit Reporting Agency. We set up the business where it's fundable. We got our DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. We're now ready to start adding credit to our credit profile. And there's 2 ways we can do this. We can do this through what are called vendors. And vendors are people like Uline, Quill, Strategic Network Solutions, Crown Office Supplies. They sell shipping supplies. They sell office supplies. These are some of my perfect and best vendors because they'll give you credit when you have none. They report the credit to the Business Credit Reporting Agencies. If you set up your fundability the right way, you will get approved. If you jacked up your fundability, then what's going to happen here is they're going to then come in and make you prepay orders before they'll approve you. That's the way it is. You also should spend $50 or more at these places because some of them, like Uline and Quill, have that requirement. Some others don't. But it's important that you actually come in and that you actually set up or get set up initially, as I've talked to you about. Then you come in and start getting approved. Then you'll be able to get approved without placing those prepaid orders. If they make you place prepaid orders first, then the reason for that happening is because you jacked up your fundability. You ignored my advice and you didn't get your fundability correct. So in order to get set up in these places, I go to their website, I set up an account, I find stuff I want on their website, I put it in my cart. They all have an option similar to Invoice Me. You choose the Invoice Me option, and then you check out. And then if they ship your items, you know you were approved. They don't send you a card in the mail. They don't send you a congratulatory email telling you you're approved in your limit. They just ship your items. It's how you know you got approved. If they didn't ship your items, then they're going to tell you that you didn't get approved. And it's typically, again, as I mentioned, because your fundability is jacked up. So these vendors will have sometimes a minimum that you need to spend with them in order to get approved. Okay, Crown Office Supplies requires an annual membership, for example, as their fee to check you made a check the fine print. You want to talk to them. You want to get them on the phone and ask them that question. Okay, hey, how much do I have to spend with you to be able to get the item reported to the Business Credit Reporting Agency? Sometimes I recommend that you call 2 or 3 people and ask 3 people in the organization the exact same question, because you'll oftentimes find that if you're asking somebody on the front end that question, that they will give you an answer that's oftentimes incorrect. And that's exactly why you want to know what your actual underwriting requirements are, what their underwriting requirements are. Now, it's best case that you actually get with an underwriter. But if you can't get with an underwriter, then you need to at least talk to 2 or 3 people on the front end to figure that out. Otherwise, you're not going to get approved. So here, let me give you an example. This is why our clients condense 3 years of business credit building to only months, because every source they apply for, all the information's here. What they sell, where they report to, the special link to get approved, exactly what it takes to qualify, okay? How much you need to pay up front if there's an upfront amount you need to buy. Our clients zip through this process because they could quickly come here, get all the information, and go apply. If you're doing it on your own, you have to call them. You have to get somebody on the phone. You got to get somebody knowledgeable. You got to ask them the right questions. You got to get the right answers of how much you need to pay and what other type of requirements that they have. You can see here that Quill, Uline, for example, you got to be listed with 411. Quill, So they're all a little bit different. So if you don't have this information because you want to take the longer path of doing it on your own, you have to know that you have to call these credit issuers to ask them that information because it's not readily available. If you don't know that, then what happens is you put items in your cart with Quill, you check out, you wait for it to report, the month passes and it doesn't report. You think maybe it'll report next month, and the next month passes and it doesn't report. Then you call them and they say, yeah, we never reported that because you only spent $45, you need to spend $50. And then you wasted 2 months waiting for them to report. That's what slows down business credit building, and it's why you need to make sure that you understand how often they report, the criteria for approval before you apply. Some sources report quarterly. Some sources report monthly. So if you're not our client, don't have access to that information, then apply for more vendors than you need in this step. You need 5 on your credit report. Apply for more than 5 in case some only report quarterly instead of monthly. Floyd says, do I need to have my business bank account address on file match the virtual address? Yes, your bank account address should match everywhere. That is a check that they will do. Okay, now once you've done this, you've built your business credit. We set up your fundability. You came in and you got vendors. You bought stuff in their store. Now they're going to report that credit starting in about 30 days. That'll give you trade lines. That'll give you a business credit profile. That'll give you a business credit score. From there, what you want to do is you want to start moving through what we call tiers. The more credit you have, the more credit you'll get. So if you look here to see how our clients do this, our clients are actually navigating through special tiers, and the tiers ultimately determine what kind of credit they're going to get approved for. So basically, how much credit you can get or what sources will approve you depend on how many accounts you have reporting on your business credit reports. This is why, again, if you're working with Credit Suite, it's very fast to build business credit because we break it down into steps and tell you how many accounts you need reporting to get these accounts. You need 6 to get these. You need 9 to get these. You need 12 to get these. If you don't know that, then you're typically going to be applying for tier 3 and 4 accounts too early and you'll get denied. And that's what slows down the process. It's applying for credit you can't get and getting denied. So you can see here that in tier 2, Gulf Fleet and Fleet Pride and Meyer and Quill and all these Office Depot you're able to get. But then others you're not able to get till tier 3, which at that point means you need more than 6 account reporting. So now in order to get into this tier, you've got to have 10 accounts reporting. And with 10 accounts, now you can start to get, other sources. Sunoco, you can get Speedway and Sinclair and Chevron and Amazon. But if you don't know how many accounts you need to get approved for a certain source like Amazon, you're just going to have to apply and get denied and keep that process up. Apply to revolving sources, deny, approve. Great. Get the account approved, use that account, then go apply again. What I'm telling you is this. Going through and getting approved for business credit is based on how many accounts you have reporting on your business credit reports. So if you get denied by Amazon, it's because you don't have enough credit reporting on your business credit reports to get approved by Amazon, to get approved by Lowe's. The only way to fix the problem is apply, get other credit, use that credit, add more accounts to your business credit profile. The more you add, the more of these tiers of credit will basically become available. But again, as I mentioned, as you can see, super simple when you're working with Credit Suite, because our software step-by-steps you through the process. And then our advisors will also help you understand how to get the credit when you qualify and when you don't. So you're only ever applying and getting approved. And that's the goal. Our clients apply, approve, apply, approved, apply, approved. People that are trying this on their own is apply, deny, apply, deny, apply, approve, apply, deny, apply, deny, apply, deny, apply, approve. And that's what slows down the process because you don't know what credit to apply for in what order. So when you have 5 accounts reporting with vendors, then you can start to get revolving credit with most major retailers. When you have 14 accounts reporting on your credit report, then you can get Visa card, then you can get MasterCard, then you can get computer leases, auto financing, all of that kind of credit becomes available in that final tier. Another option here, if you don't want to use vendors, is a program we call Credit Line Hybrid. And with Credit Line Hybrid, you can give us a call, and I'll give you our phone number here in a minute. With Credit Line Hybrid, you can get credit lines up to $150,000, no doc, and they report to the business credit reporting agencies. It's a great way to jumpstart your business credit, but you need a 680 FICO to get approved, or a guarantor, mom, dad, family member, friend, business, somebody that wants to invest in your business that has a 680 FICO or higher. So you got to have a 680 FICO or higher to be able to get Credit Line Hybrid. But if you have it, you can get up to $150,000 in credit lines, no doc, even as a startup with 0% interest rates. And you're able to get that and jumpstart your business credit building. So 2 ways to build business credit: using vendors, which I talked about, and jumpstarting it using Credit Line Hybrid. That will help you as well. So again, you can do all of this in less than 30 days and get those initial approvals even reported on your business credit report. Remember to pay your bills on time. Your business credit scores are based on timely payments. So you've got to make sure you pay those bills on time. They also look at things like your industry. So make sure you set that fundability stuff up. It's very important to getting approved with the best terms. Once you've done that, then you can come in and start to get those vendors. We talked about Uline, Quill, Strategic Network Solutions. When you have 5 of those kind of accounts, then you can move on to start revolving credit. And also keep in mind, not to self-promote, but guys, it's cheaper and easier to work with us and do it on your own. What I mean by that is that credit monitoring for us is 90% cheaper than you get through the credit bureaus themselves. 411 is free for us. There's a lot of stuff you get free or discounted when you're working with us. So not only will you take years of the process and condense it to months, but it's going to be cheaper to work with us and do it on your own. So if you want to learn more about that, give us a call, 877-600-2487. On a consultation call with us, we will help you get your business credit reports for free, no cost. They cost $249 directly from the bureaus. You get them with us for free. So we get your credit reports for free. We do a fundability assessment to see all the fundability stuff that's not in line. We pull the secret credit reports lenders use, and we tell you all the discrepancies that lenders are seeing so you can fix that stuff. We even qualify you for all the loans and credit lines you can get now. It all happens on one phone call with us, 877-600-2487. Did you like this? Help me out. Give me a like, whatever platform you're watching, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Like this video. That helps me. It's the only thing I ever ask you to do. And if you like this, then subscribe to our channels as well. That way you get more information. Top right of our page, creditsuite.com, you'll find all of our social links. We have daily tips on places like Facebook, Instagram. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Periscope every single week, Tuesday and Thursday at 1 and Wednesday at 11, all Eastern time. So make sure that you also listen to our podcast, the Business Credit Financing Show, so you can listen on the go to more training on how to get credit and financing for your business. Eugene says, can you get funded for a startup? Yes, you absolutely can get funded as a startup. There's 3 ways a business owner can get money: credit, cash flow, and collateral. If you're a startup, you don't have cash flow, but you have credit and collateral. One of those 2 can be used to get you funding, and any business can build business credit. You don't even need cash flow credit or collateral to be able to build business credit. It's another way to go. Bismarck Sanchez says, hello, family from YouTube or Facebook. Thanks for coming in. And DeFi, thanks for coming in from YouTube. Great video. I got a consultation today. Tim, enjoy your consultation. You're going to get a lot of value out of it. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I look forward to tomorrow, where I'll be talking about more cool ways for you to get money to grow your business. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.